We are live.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to call the council meeting to order of Monday, July 13th, 2020 at 2:27 p.m. I've already read a land acknowledgement statement earlier this morning, so I don't think I have to repeat that. I'm going to ask anybody if they have any declarations of pecuniary interest that they wish to declare in regards to the upcoming meeting. I'm seeing nobody waving their hands or unmuting themselves. I'm going to take that as a no. Moved by Councillor Cooper, seconded by Councillor Wienko. Be it resolved that Council adopts the consent agenda of July 13th, 2020 as circulated. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got at least 6. So I'm going to say that is carried.
I did want to have one item pulled from that consent agenda if I could.
And that is?
I don't have the agenda in front of me, but it had to do with the anonymity of complaints. I believe it's on the consent agenda, just about what constitutes giving out a complainant's name during the process.
Your worship,
CAO Gunby.
I'm just slightly confused because that was last month we had that report on the consent agenda, and this month is just the noise bylaw complaint and the stats.
Okay, I don't have it in front of me, so thank you. I appreciate that.
Councillor Douglas. You're muted. Are we waiting for you, Councillor Douglas, or no? I'm not sure.
Apologies, didn't unmute. No, I think I'm going to be fine here. I'll bring something up in my report out, but I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. So given all that, I think I already had enough votes to say that this had carried as we resolve the council adopts the consent agenda of July 13, 2020 as circulated. I'll say it again. All in favor? All right, that confirms it. Thank you. That means I can not worry about a few other resolutions here. And I have a resolution in front of me, moved by Councillor Hazelton, seconded by Councillor Jarvis. Be it resolved, the council adopts the regular agenda of July 14th, 2020 as amended to include 9E, Port 7 Park open to the public, 9F, public washrooms at the Honey Harbor Park, and 9G, Golf Course Road final sealing. CAO Gunby.
Thank you. I verified with Councillor Bocek that we no longer needed the Honey Harbor washroom one because we've arranged for porta potties to be installed, and he wrote back that he was fine with that. So
okay,
I think we can pull that one. And I also wanted to verify that Councillor Bocek had also added something to the agenda regarding the naturalization of some of our township properties, and I'd sent out an email this morning saying that the report the council adopted said that we would report back on the status of the project in the wintertime. So I didn't know if he still wanted to have that added on the agenda to discuss today, or if he wanted to wait until we did our required report back.
No, I would like to have it added to the agenda today. It can be under new business if that's where it needs to be, but there is a great concern from our community.
Okay, it's already on the agenda. I just wanted to make sure.
Great, thank you.
Okay, all right, so we don't have to add it to this one. So right now I have, be it resolved, the council adopts the regular agenda of July 14th, 2020 as amended to include 9E, Port 7 Park open to the public, and 9G, Golf Course Road final sealing. All those in favor?
I believe
that, sorry?
Is Councillor Douglas voting, or is she, sorry, my computer keeps freezing, or is she trying to add something?
I think she's voting. I'm going to go on that assumption because if she isn't, then she's got to unmute and say, hey, wait a minute. All right, thank you. Okay. The first item on our agenda after this is communications from mayor and council. And in my attempts to mess up the order from the prior months, I'm going to start with Councillor Jarvis. Any communications you wish to share with us from the prior month?
Perhaps, but I don't know. My phone died and it had everything on it from my monthly calendar. So and I'm at pains to remember exactly what's happened since our last meeting. I suspect there, other than Seg Bay and we had a library. I can't remember. We may have had a library board as well, but that would be about it. Plus the fact that I've been dealing with constituents on things such as Macy Bay, but that's been about it.
Thank you. Councillor Douglas.
Thank you. Other than a lot of correspondence with constituents by telephone and by email, one of probably my biggest conversations that I've been having this past month has been with a few constituents from Iroquois Road in regards to an Airbnb that is very disruptive. So that may be something that will be coming forward later. And I've just recommended that they talk to Bylaw, but it seems to be an increasing problem that I just thought I'd mention in this. Other than that, that's about it.
Thank you. Councillor Cooper. We can't hear you, even though you've unmuted. We weren't able to hear you.
Is your computer mic off?
Okay, you work on that, and then we'll skip to Councillor Wienko in the short run.
Thanks. It's been somewhat of a quiet month. I hadn't any meetings on Zoom at all. I've had a few questions on garbage. I've discovered that solid waste handling has doubled in the last month from last year. And I guess there's a lot more people up here, or somebody's bringing a lot of waste, but in talking to the district, our waste handling, our solid waste handling has doubled in the last month. And so that's a major concern, and that has led to a lot of misuse of our sites. And I think that's also experienced over in the Honey Harbor. We've experienced it here, plus the bears have been out too. So garbage has been quite an issue. It's been all over Facebook, and I've getting a lot of calls on that. So that's a major issue right now.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hazelton.
Interesting that you can't have a lot of meetings during this COVID time, but that doesn't seem to stop the phones from ringing and email communications from blasting away. I've engaged actually a very substantial amount of time on this Macy Bay topic. I've spent an enormous amount of time on the pending Brandy's Cove matter, which I'm sure we'll get into at the next meeting. I've heard from the indigenous community who are very concerned about some of the things that are going on at the township. Some of the properties are being blocked, and
excuse me, Mayor Kuchar.
Yes.
We lost our clerk is having internet issues. I was wondering if she has those resolved.
I see her.
I can hear everybody.
Okay,
But
good.
I can't see anybody
We
properly.
can see you fine.
You can see me? Okay. I can't see anybody voting or anything like that. So just, we need to
Okay.
be mindful. Sorry.
Fair enough. Sorry, Councillor Hazelton.
just that point there where I've heard, as I say, from the indigenous community, and it's always interesting at a municipal level to hear from the indigenous people who are really federal level relationships, but they are certainly reaching out at this level. I too have heard of garbage related issues. And certainly as I'm a customer of Nautilus Marina, I'm very sensitive to the fact that they do a stellar job of managing their site. If only they could get the garbage lifts picked up, that would be wonderful. And requests for that don't seem to be working. And the ability for the people who are responsible for garbage lifts they don't seem to understand the concept of queue theory, long weekends, and the need for planning extra lifts on or about long weekends. So that concern has been going on for decades. We don't seem to be making any progress on it, which I find shocking, but that's it. But in addition to the verbal and written communications, I have had several social distance meetings with people to discuss and explore some of the challenges we have in Ward 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bocek.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. It's been a very busy month here in Ward 3. I'll go over a few of the items that have come to my plate and how I've addressed them. First and foremost is a big issue we're having up at the far reach of my ward at Big Chute, the Big Chute Marine Railway, Big Chute Marina on Whites Falls Road. I've been requested that we get targeted enforcement up there through our bylaw. The parking on weekends is ridiculous. The marina owner cannot even get his customers into the marina because tourists are blocking the driveways getting in with their cars. And we don't really have any backbone in our parking bylaws to do anything about it. This is a district road, and the district really depicts what we do there. So not only at the Big Chute and the Big Chute Marina, but Whites Falls, where there's a bridge that kids like to swim at the falls, and that the parking there, sometimes 50, 60 cars, both sides of the road, almost impossible to get through. And our answer is a $10 parking ticket. The people just love the $10 parking ticket because it's the cheapest parking at any attraction you can find. We need to address that with the district and get the fines increased and try and get a handle on that. Not to mention there's an issue up there with trespassing on private property, which I've spoken to our bylaw department about. People going in with long rifles, trespassing on property and target shooting. There's a myriad of problems up there, and I'm going to be working with the bylaw, the fire chief, our CAO, to try and mitigate some of these because I think everybody's involved in the township. Boating ramp for the Severn River, big hot topic up there. We have a lot of constituents on the Severn River above the Big Chute. There is no public launch ramp up there for our constituents to launch a boat and get to their cottages. There is a private launch ramp which you will pay to launch and use that. But most other communities in our township have public launches: 6 Mile Lake, Gibson Lake, Honey Harbor, Port Severn. There's nothing up on the river. Something we need to address in the near future. Parking at the Port Severn Park. Many calls about our constituents not being able to get parking. It's full from tourists. We have no parking fees currently. So the fishing tournaments come in, everybody comes in, uses the whole parking lot. Our own constituents can't even use the park. So I think we need to relook and address that. And I think there's something on the agenda for it today. Roads Department, a lot of calls about the resurfacing that's going on, Leduc Lane, Potato Island, Golf Course Road. It's on the agenda again today. I think we're doing a poor job communicating with our constituents on the schedules and the timelines. Most of the problems could have been solved just by letting them know when the hard surfing is going to be done. And Moore Point, the same thing. So I think we need to communicate better, and I've talked to a lot of constituents about that. Got a call from Ward 4 outside of my area from concerned residents about the Clean Yards Act, how we're not enforcing it. Prisk Road being the target area here, Island 95. many complaints about clean yards there. So I'm going to have to get together with our bylaw and our building department and have them have a look at all the, what I've been told, illegal docks, 2 docks per property, garbage everywhere. Big concern down that way. Wildwood Park, speaking with them, right across Wildwood on the Severn, they have concerns about water quality. They have a beach at their park, and there was a posting that the Port Severn beach at the Port Severn Park was not safe to swim in. The bacteria level had reached a point where there was caution to be taken. They're questioning, they're right next door with their beach, and what should they do? Is there any official report from the township that can be sent to these resorts that are on the same body of water, letting them know that we have conditions? And of course, the staff really helped me this month. I had a request for washrooms. The public library is closed in Honey Harbor. They requested the washrooms that used to be there last year. We had portable washrooms. They're not there this year. Hand cleaning stations due to COVID-19, separate hand cleaning stations. And there's really no municipal garbage bins in Honey Harbor. So what's happening is people are coming out of the general store, unwrapping their ice cream, throwing it on the wrappers on the ground, or using the public's recycling boxes to put their dog poopy bags in and some things like that. So there was a need for 3 things. And I know that Jessica has addressed the washrooms. I haven't heard back about the hand cleaning stations or the garbage cans, but we'll work through that through this week. And that's a lot for a month, but that's what's happening in my ward.
Thank you. Councillor Cooper, do you want to give it another try?
May I suggest that you try the test speaker and microphone button, which is the little up arrow beside the mute button? Sometimes it resolves microphone issues.
Whoops. Okay, Councillor Cooper, hopefully you got something worked out, but no, right now we still don't hear you. How's your sign language?
I wonder if maybe he logged back out and logged back in, it might help.
I think he already did that.
Well,
Hey, Peter, try one thing. Julie just pointed out, if you touch the up arrow beside the mute button, so you are currently unmuted right now. If you push the up arrow, you'll see a bunch of options to select what microphone you're going to use. I don't know if pick a different microphone and try that.
I love Zoom meetings.
Really?
It's multiple tech support.
We just heard you a minute ago. Touch on the built-in microphone. On the up arrow.
Yeah,
the
Paul's talking about the
built-in
microphone built into the computer, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll
On your keyboard, Peter, there should be a microphone button.
usually on F10, up on the top row, there'll be a picture
Yeah,
of a
F10,
speaker with an X through it. I know Peter has the same computer as me, so F11 I think is speaker and microphone on. I'm not sure, or volume up.
Yeah, I got F10 for sound. F11 is lower the sound. F12 is increase the sound.
This is riveting conversation for our constituents.
I know they're
I know.
really enjoying it. How many people are watching right now?
Oh, who knows?
Okay.
8.
Let's try moving on, unfortunately, and then we'll get back to it. As far as my communication is concerned, after the last meeting, let's see, June 15th, I went to a district meeting, June 16th, the biosphere meeting, June 17th, the health unit meeting, June 23rd, met with the MECP with regards to garbage. And then unfortunately, a family matter came up that has been dominating my time ever since. So in there, I did get a municipal modernization meeting with the district on the 8th. And that was followed by a call with all the mayors with the premier, basically announcing economic support for recovering from the COVID-19. And of course, quite a bit of correspondence on numerous matters. And the one thing I think that upset me the most was all the reports on the total failure of when it came to solid waste collection over the long weekend. And when the realization that some of our marinas are still using winter bins as opposed to summer bins, and that they weren't getting their lifts. And it astounds me how something that is so predictable is handled so poorly. I don't understand, quite frankly. And I'm not sure that the district is the right organization to take care of solid waste collection in our township. But we'll keep on working on that, because there are a lot of issues that have to be resolved, in my opinion. When marinas are supplied bins that the doors don't even close, they're half the size they should be, and they're still not lifted. Doesn't do it. Anyway, with having said all that, next on our agenda is our CAO, Ms. Gumby.
I have so many pages of notes. And that's pretty much thanks to Councillor Bocek, because he brought up a lot of things that I have answers for.
Oh, wow.
First of all, so we'll just go over what he was speaking about. With White Falls Road, we're fully aware that parking there's an issue. There have been some posts that have been removed by members of the public to allow them access to an illegal parking lot. So Mr. Van Dam and also a member of the district staff have been there. They visited the site. They are going to fix that, and that hopefully will stop. And also regarding the $10 parking ticket, I've asked the district CAO to review their district parking fees, because people will gladly come out of wherever they're hiding or camping or swimming, give us $10 and walk away. So we are hoping to increase the fees to discourage that behavior. The Honey Harbor Park, we not only installed 2 porta potties, but also a hand washing station. If they're not there at this time, they will be there very, very shortly. As after we got the email, I worked it out with Brad and he ordered them on Friday. With giving parks notices about swimming, we put all our notices about not safe water on our social media. We don't have everyone's email addresses, but we can make it a point to send it out to everyone that we have email addresses for, and just strongly encourage everyone follow us on our social media channels so they're aware of any sort of update with the water quality when they're swimming. The ramp in Big Chute belongs to Parks Canada, the one that everyone says is a public boat launch. Parks Canada hasn't opened up all of their facilities just yet, so that one is not available to the public. But I hear you that there's still an issue no matter what, that there is no access to the water for our constituents in that area. When it comes to clean yards, if you can have these people email myself and bylaw staff, or just pass on their concerns to us, we can look at it. But unless the proper channels are followed and staff are aware of the issues, it could appear we're not enforcing it because we're not aware of it and we don't know where they are and what to do about it. So if you can pass that on, that would be great. I'm working with the district with Jennifer Schneier to determine the roles and procedures with the food bank, because the district is supposed to be the main point of contact with the food bank. So we're working with them on that. I'm still doing so many Zooms and calls and webinars about recovering plans, legislative changes, since they change daily. And speaking of that, it was announced today that as of Friday, we are allowed to have gatherings of 50 people inside and 100 people outside. So in my excitement, we can have planning meetings, public meetings, hopefully in August. Don't quote me on it, even though this is recorded. Maybe September, but I'm thinking August. And places like restaurants, movie theaters, casinos, bars, live sports, gyms, and live theater, they can all open on Friday as well in the Simcoe-Muskoka area. And that's all I have for today.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next, staff reports. And report number 1 is all about banging a table. Ms. Schneier, I believe that's your report.
Good afternoon. Nice to see
Good
you all.
afternoon.
This is a communication tool that is being used by our neighbors. It's a very useful tool because it's interactive and engaging and allows people to comment. It would give staff and council a perspective from a collective as opposed to, a whole group as opposed to a collective, because it would be open to anybody anytime, 24/7. Once the topic is posted on Bang the Table, then you would be able to have a forum where you would be able to get access to some content from people that you may not have access to at present. So we are seeing some of our neighbors enjoying greater communication with the residents and opportunity for more people to, as I mentioned, comment, and we would like to give it a try for a year to see whether or not our constituents are using a tool like that. It would be populated outside of our website, but there would be links to and from the website to Bang the Table. And your discretion, we would either call it My Georgian Bay or Engage Georgian Bay. That's a decision that you guys can make, because it's out there, either one. So whichever you feel is best. And then in the coming months, we would populate this site with some key topics that are important to all departments, and then you would be able to see the comments, and we would be able to provide you with a little greater clarity.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillors, an additional communication tool with our constituents, I think this would fall under. Any comments or suggestions? Councillor Bocek, followed by Councillor Rienko.
Thanks for the presentation, Jennifer. I think most people that use any sort of social media or media have access to our website and do visit it when there's concerns. The people we want to reach are the people that don't actively use social medias. So we may have to use signs like on the corner at the Port Severn Park, something like that, to trumpet this new innovation, and so that people, when they pull off the highway or pull into Mactier or pull into Honey Harbor, there'd be some sort of signing that says visit bangthetable.com or whatever. If they're not already engaged, the chances of them being engaged is very little unless we put it in their face in the form of some sort of hard writing.
Thank you. Councillor Rienko.
Uh,
Oh, sorry, Ms. Schneier.
The Bang the Table is the platform. We would be encouraging people to go to either Engage Georgian Bay or My Georgian Bay, whichever one you feel best. Bang the Table would be sort of a behind the scenes discussion that we would have, because it's really just the platform. We would really push people with that corner idea, which is really great, to the website. We wouldn't mention Bang the Table.
Okay. CO Gunby, did you have yes, you do have your hand up.
Thank you. The CAOs talked about this a while ago, and all the other municipalities, I think except for one, are using My. So we are deciding on My Georgian Bay. If you want to change it, feel free, but we had sort of already committed to the other CAOs that we would follow that platform. So we're all sort of in line with each other throughout the district. But also, just so I can answer Councillor Bocek's point, even for those who aren't familiar with social media and may have difficulty trying to sort of get their way around it, this is so much simpler than social media. You go to the one website, whatever it's called, and there's just going to be a couple blocks on the main page, and you just type or you just click on the hot topic. Like we would have one that says, Macy Bay, or whatever item we have going on in our township, and everything regarding that item would be under that page. So you wouldn't have to go to the township website and not know where to find everything. Everything would be in one section. And it's just so much easier for everyone who just has internet connection to find the information they're looking for.
I'll add that I've used the one at District and I found it very useful and easy. Councilor Yanko.
So just to clarify, then I would just go to Google search and punch in my Georgian Bay, and that's sufficient to get into it? Yes? Nod?
If that's the domain that we choose, then yes.
Yes,
Okay. And with this, I think it's a great idea. We'll call it My Georgian Bay. I agree with that one. Would other community groups like the Lions Club or Back to Snow Riders or whatever, who wanted to advertise something or whatever, could they have access to, or through the township, could they have access to it and put some stuff on there too?
Ms. Schneider is frozen.
so I
Oh, she's back.
would be hesitant with that. I would be hesitant to do that because of the access to the behind the scenes content and the ability to change things up. I think it should just stay a municipal platform for now. And if some of our partners want to be able to get involved, we would encourage them to get their own page, and then we could hyperlink and cross-reference.
Any other comments? The motion in front of me, moved by Councillor Jarvis, seconded by Councillor Yanko, reads, be it resolved that Council receives the Bang the Table report, and the Council directs staff to enter into a one-year agreement with Bang the Table to create an online portal known as My Georgian Bay in the amount of $6,000 plus HST with a launch date of October 2020. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously, Ms. Way, if you can't see everybody's faces.
Thank you very much.
It's not actually unanimous because we're missing a council member,
Oh,
but I still passed.
okay, okay, 6.
Semantics.
Yeah, Cynthia was waving in the distance. I'm sure she is. All right. Human Resources Report, Flexible Work Policy. Ms. Martin, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see your faces. So this report came up actually pre-COVID, but it was put on hold, and then we thought, well, let's move it forward because you know, we've kind of felt our way through and we're having normal meetings now. So so this policy is to offer more flexibility for staff in how we you know, just to help them to maintain a work-life balance. So there's different options outlined in the policy. So as well as to help staff, it's going to help us to attract and maintain staff. So to kind of, you know, as we talked about last year, we were having some difficulty with attraction and some retention. So this would be another tool that we could use to help to make that a stronger, make it stronger for us to attract and retain staff. Does anybody have any questions around? I don't know if y'all had a chance to read it.
Well, I don't have any questions, but a couple of comments. One is I think flexible work policy makes a heck of a lot of sense for folks. I think the more flexible we can be for our employees, in a sense, the more flexible they can be for us. And I would also think over the last couple of months, informally, we've in effect been doing a flexible work policy.
Yeah, and the trend is now to actually moving towards, you know, more organizations are looking to figure out how they can do things in a flexible, more flexible way.
Councillor Jarvis, I think you had your hand up, followed by Councillor Bocek.
I was just going to echo your comments. You beat me to it.
Oh, sorry.
Don't apologize. Tammy, I like the idea. I think that going through COVID has proved that for a lot of companies and for municipalities like ours, working remotely can work quite well. And I agree. From a work-life balance and attracting employees is probably a very, very good idea for us. So it's a good idea.
Councillor Bocek.
Yeah, thanks for the report. I'm in a completely different space on this. I come from a background of teamwork in sports teams and everything else. And when it's time to play, everybody better show up at the same time and work together. on the same page. And I think if you have one person in a department in their office and the other person on their boat and the other person at their home and everything else, I don't agree with the concept, and this is my personal opinion. I've spoken to other people that have tried it and it failed. And I don't think it's good for this township. I think once COVID-19 is not an issue, I truly believe we need to show up 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever it is, work together as a team, share each other's spaces, share each other's hardware, and work together. And my gist of this is that it could turn into something else other than what's in the written material.
Ms. Martin.
I'd just like to add that working remotely is just a piece of this policy. And with regard to the work remote, it wouldn't just be you can do whatever you want. It has to be an agreed upon with your manager or supervisor. And of course, that there would be limits on that. So just to kind of assure you, it wouldn't be a free for all and people would just be doing whatever they wanted. The policy also speaks to compressed work weeks. It talks to holiday closure flex banks for our contract staff, because as you know, we close and then typically they've gone without pay during that closure. So this policy allows them to bank some of that time so that they don't have to go without pay for our staff who are on longer contracts. There's the informal option where if somebody has some medical appointments, it allows some flexibility for them to make up that time. And those are the key ones. So just Brian, just to let you know, it's bigger than just the remote piece, and that the remote piece is a controlled piece.
Yeah, thanks for that. I really think that we should be speaking, or you should be speaking to your heads of your departments, your individual department heads, management directors, and get their feelings on how they can control this. And I think you might get a different picture, because I've spoken to a few, and perhaps it's not in the best interest of all departments. Perhaps some departments it works well for, other departments not so well. So my feeling is that everybody shows up to work at a specific time. We work and we go home, and that way we accomplish the most efficient. So I would not be in support of this particular item myself, and that's my 2 cents on it.
CEO Gunby.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just so Councillor Bocek is aware, we don't bring these policies to council without actually going through senior management and their staff as well. We don't just make these up. We've heard comments from all of senior managers, and we have not heard any concerns from any of them. So if you have, that's news to us. But also, I will be the first person to admit that I shared your opinion exactly prior to COVID-19. And I would get frustrated when anyone asked me to work from home, because in my head, they were not working. They weren't doing anything. But now that I've been working from home for a very long time, I'm finding I'm getting a lot of work done, and I'm more productive at home than I am at the office. And I feel like I'm a happier, more approachable employee, if you can believe it or not. And
But we haven't had a chance to approach you.
6 feet away, 6 feet.
There is, I might add, there is a level of customer service, and we're in that customer service business. And when people come to the front desk and ask to see a member of our staff, and we have to say, oh, they're working from home today, that's not customer service. I think we need to be hands-on up front, dealing with people the way we have in the past. And I'm a firm believer in the business model that we have right now, but that may not be the way other councillors feel, but I think the status quo, you show up for work, you do your work, you go home, and your home time is your home time to spend with your family and recreation, not working. So that's me.
Councillor Hazelton.
So we all have different experiences, and I'll just share that for the last 20 years of my business life, I had very much a flexible remote office structure. And I think I was able to demonstrate that was the right thing for me. I was happier and more approachable as well. But I think one one of the things that I think we are learning, certainly in COVID, is that in the past we may have thought that we could show up and see somebody and resolve an issue. But I think we're finding more and more that we just need to checkpoint that we coordinate time schedules with the people that we need to meet, and then we can have a productive meeting. And then from a staff scheduling workload perspective, that actually helps us optimize our staff by allowing that kind of structure, as opposed to having people in a standby mode waiting for hopefully somebody to come in and talk to them or not. So anyways, just a very different perspective, and I 100% behind this. Thank you.
Councillor Bocek, right now I have you as seconding this motion. Would you like your name removed from this motion? Sorry, you're muted.
The seconding of a motion is simply to get it onto the floor for discussion. So it doesn't mean that I endorse the.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to confirm with you.
Well, that's fine.
Right now, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Wienko, seconded by Councillor Bocek. Be it resolved that Council receives the flexible work policy report and that Council adopt the flexible work policy as presented. Councillor Wienko, did you want to comment? Or are you voting?
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry, Councillor Wienko.
I think with the young staff we have, there's a lot of kids involved too. And I think this summer has been nice to have some of these, with the kids home all the time, some of the families been home to look after them. I think that's going to go on into the fall. I don't know if schools are going to go back full time yet. And I think with the flex hours, if kids get sick, then, the parents can stay home and look after them and so on. So I've been involved in flex business for quite a while when I was working at Hydro, and it worked quite well. I was able, the kids got sick, I was able to stay home with them and work from home and so on. And I think with a young staff, a lot of our staff have young children. And I think it's a great idea that they can spend some time with them at home. And as long as they get their work done, there's got to be, with flex hours, there's got to be more goal setting. So you have a product to produce on time at a certain time. And that's a way of managing flex time, especially at home. So I'm all.
Okay. See no other hands, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3. I make 4, 5. We got 5 in favor, 1, I assume no, and 1 absent. So that is carried. And now we have one more with Ms. Martin, namely the non-union management remuneration bylaw.
How about now? I
Okay.
was muted. Okay. So this was ready to go as well before COVID. It was actually set up, I think, for the next meeting, but then COVID hit. So we just halted all of our operations. And so since then, again, we have, we've looked, my question before I decided to bring this report was financially, where do we sit? And our director of finance had confirmed that that we were in a good position and that we had budgeted for this. So we thought it would be, why not? Let's do business as we do business and move it forward. So annually, or not annually, when we do our collective agreement negotiations, typically the non-union group, we will present this bylaw for an update after we've done our bargaining. And so typically what happens for non-union is in line with what we've bargained collectively. And so based on that, this report presents, to be in line with what the union group received. So we're looking at increases, and I believe it was Brian that mentioned when we had a meeting, he talked about it in terms of going back. So we're not going to retro all the way back to last year like our union group did. We're recommending that we go January 1st of this year. And so those increases would be in line with what the union group received. We also added the volunteer firefighters never had a grid. There was never anything in writing in terms of what they made. So our treasurer put together a grid for them. So we'll find that in Schedule B of this bylaw. Changes to the wording. So a celebration of life was added to the bereavement days because it was not in there before. Loo time is replenishable throughout the year, but only 70 or 80 hours respectively can be banked at any one time. Vision under Schedule B, so they've increased that to $95 every 2 years. Boot allowance was increased to $200. Elimination period for short-term disability, so that's how many days you have to use to qualify for short-term. It was taken from 7 days down to 4. Added the section on protective clothing. So that wasn't in there with regard to the non-union group about protective clothing. So we added that into the bylaw. And then we also added summer student remuneration. There's a little piece in there with regard to them because there was never anywhere did it really talk to summer students previously. And so the recommendation there was, I believe, to give them a $2 increase over what minimum wage is to help us with attraction and retention. That summarizes the brunt of it, and I'm happy to field any questions that you might have.
Councillors. I'm seeing no, oh, Councillor Bocheck.
Just wanted to let you know, Tammy, that despite of my first comments on the first topic, this was well thought out and very well done. And I think it serves what council wanted in the beginning, and you've done a good job on this. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Shall I read the motion? Moved by Councillor Bocheck, seconded by Councillor Cooper. Be it resolved the council received the non-union management remuneration bylaw report. That the council adopts the amendments to the non-union management remuneration bylaw to reflect the same provisions for bereavement leave as the unionized employees. And that council adopt a revised Schedule A non-union remuneration grid that reflects the following cost of living adjustments: a 1.5% wage increase effective January 1st, 1.5 wage increase effective July 1st, a 1.6 wage increase effective July 1st, 2021, 1.6 increase July 1st, 2022, and a 1.7% increase July 1st, 2023. And that council adopts the new Schedule B non-union remuneration grid for volunteer firefighter groups that reflects the following cost of living adjustments, which are identical to what I've already read. And the council adopts the amendments to the vision and short-term disability sickness benefits, and the council adopt the amendment to loo time to allow the bank to be replenished but not to exceed the maximum allowable at any time. And the council adopts the addition of the section pertaining to summer student remuneration rates. And the council adopt the amendment to add a section on protective clothing in line with the unionized employee group as applicable. And the council adopts bylaw 2020-05 for the non-union remuneration. All those in favor? Okay, I think I have 6 out of 7 voting in favor. All right, our next one is now the budget guidelines. Ms. Boutsiet, do you want to do that now, or do you want to save that for the tomorrow audit session?
I think it's an independent subject and it could be now.
Let's do it.
So through you, your worship, thank you very much. So today we are kicking off our 2021 budget process, and there are a few decision points. So the timetable was put together in the report, and then the decision points today are if council would like a one-on-one meeting with the Director of Finance Treasurer, myself, like you did last year, or if we could do it more streamlined in terms of a survey. And then if we would like delegations from groups or organizations that have projects for the 2021 budget process. And finally, if council would like a public presentation, like a town hall style with Q&A with the public. So those are the decision points today, which are items 2, 3, 4, 5, and 14 of the timetable.
So my first question to you is, between items 2 and 3, are your expectation we'll pick one and not the other?
No, it could be both.
Well, I'm going to let the council speak to this. Councillors? Councillor Jarvis.
I was very comfortable with the idea of sitting down and talking on a face-to-face basis over this. I wouldn't be upset with a survey as well. It wouldn't bother me one way or the other. I think it's important that we all have certain ideas on how the budgeting process works, or how we think it should work, or how we can help it work, or what we want done or included or whatever. And I think sometimes it just works better on a one-on-one basis, because then we don't have worrying about what others might think as we're talking to you personally about it. I don't know if it has to be in office or just by phone, but that would probably be my preference. And I like that idea of going ahead with a one-on-one. Have we ever had or opened up to public input on this? An interesting concept. Not that I oppose that either. I'm just wondering how long the process is going to take if we started getting more and more people involved. But I'd be happy to, more happy coming in and talking one-on-one.
CO Gunby.
I just wanted to clarify for members of council who were not on council when we did this before. So for a few years, we opened up a Survey Monkey for members of the public to complete the surveys. I must tell you, it was the most entertaining survey results I've ever read in my entire life. But I'd say we had about 150 responses to it. And we did it for a few years, and then council voted to no longer do it. So I think that's why it's on the table today, because it's still an option to get members of the public's input on it.
My question, along with that entertainment, was it informative?
Entertaining.
Okay. Councillor Bocek. Oh, sorry, Councillor Jarvis, do you want to?
I just comment further that I think that we always get comments quite often on contentious issues, like Macy Bay being one, where public feels they haven't had enough input. Perhaps if they've had input and we just find it entertaining, it's still input on their part. I don't know what how much effort timing wise goes into it from the staffing point of view. That may be an issue, but interesting that if we open up to the public and they get a chance to say something, it can't hurt. We are a democracy after all.
Ms. Boudier.
Through your worship, I've done one of these presentation town hall type meetings in another municipality I work for. And I think it really shed a lot of light. I did it more in a perspective of a little game, kind of with Monopoly money, and actually shedding the perspective to the public of how much money council actually has authority over. And I think it was both eye opener, and I think the public was in a better position to understand council's role in handling the township's money.
Councillor Bocek, followed by Councillor Douglas.
I'm in agreement with Councillor Jarvis. It's very important we sit face to face with you and let you know what our constituents are asking to get put into the budget for the year coming up. Typically, I reach out to my constituents before the budget deliberations and ask them what their wants and needs are. And I can filter out a lot of the stuff. If they want an Olympic stadium, they're not going to get it. If they want volleyball courts on top of the community center, they're not going to get it. I can weed out the stuff that isn't real, but there's a lot of real concerns. So when I meet with you, I bring my want list, and I also bring a want list from my constituents. So I think that's a very, very important part of this process. The other part of the process I think is very valuable, which seems to have, with this term of council, somewhat disappeared. And that could be because of COVID or new leadership on the council. We used to have a committee of the whole meeting every month. And the committee of the whole was a place where different organizations such as SSEA or the Biosphere or whoever could come and request funds at the COW meeting. And then we'd have time to deliberate over that, get into a council meeting for the approval stages. So I think the current system we have now gives all the avenues in order to talk pre-budget of what councillors would like to see in the budget. I don't know how it affects staff or anyone else, but the status quo that we've had in place where we come to you, speak to you face to face, and any organizations that want funding in the budget have to come to a committee of the whole meeting, and that's where we gain our information from.
Thank you. Councillor Douglas.
Thank you. Julia, I'm quite curious on how you ran that meeting and how you think you would run it, given we're only working on Zoom. Is that even going to be a possibility? Because I think it's always a good thing to get public input.
Through your worship, I think it is possible with both now the restrictions or us moving into a phase 3 and also doing a hybrid model where we can use Zoom to our advantage and to our full potential. We could definitely do a hybrid model where I think we could give a voice to most people who let us know in advance that they would like to be heard.
Okay, thank you. Just supplement to that, I'm like Councillor Bochek, like to bring my constituents' remarks back when I reach out to them during budget deliberations. But I think too that I would prefer to have a one-on-one conversation, so I can do that. That would be my choice. Thank you.
Councillor Yanko.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with what that the councillors themselves should be bringing in individual issues that they want in the budget. But I also think that if a cottage association or an organization, the township, wanted something to add to the budget, I think they represent a larger group of people, and they should be able to write letters to the township suggesting that, you know, they need a new dock or whatever on their lake and so on. So I think cottage associations and some of the other organizations, groups we have in the community, if they need something, they should be able to write to the township asking to be put in the budget, and it should be brought to our attention when the budget's being discussed. But individually, no, I agree they should go through the councillors individually, but I think the cottage associations might be able to have some direct input.
Well, that's interesting, Councillor Wanko, that you brought that up, because looking at number 4 and number 5, and the number 4 point on this on the chart in front of us is whether these groups should make written submissions, or in number 5, whether they should make delegations to council, and whether you or any other councillors have an opinion on whether these various groups should be making written submissions or delegations. Councillor Douglas.
In my opinion, it would be either one.
Okay, Councillor Douglas.
I agree, either one, but I think it would be easier for some people to do written delegation or written requests. But if they could do a delegation, that'd be great as well. But I think we should give them the option.
I'll add my concern, and then I'll recognize CEO Gunby. But my concern is sometimes that when we get delegations, the time consumed is not proportional to the money requested. And that is, I think, a concern of mine sometimes. CEO Gunby.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just going to clarify again for councillors who may not remember the process or aren't familiar with it. So typically they do both. The organizations will submit a letter to us that we will attach to the agenda, and then they will come and speak to it also, even though they could just be reading from the same letter, or they could have additional information. So I think that if council chose to just accept written submission forms, I do not think that it would be a big issue for those who typically ask us for money for the year out of our budget.
It may encourage councillors to actually read the package because if they know they're going to have somebody presenting, then they don't have to read the package. Councillor Bochek.
Like Jessica was saying, the way we've done it in the past has worked very well, where you have written or you have delegations. What you want to avoid is having 60 people come into your office and say, we want a bike and walking trail from Honey Harbor to Port Severn, where instead of you spending your time addressing 60 people, I'll be bringing it to you, and I'll let you know that 60 people have endorsed that project. I think we have to manage your time as well as staff's time, and to have individuals coming to you with all their individual, I'd like a dog park, I'd like this, I'd like that. I don't think it works. I think cottage associations or organizations can do a delegation or written submission, and individuals' wants and needs can come through their counselor, and it's always worked in the past, and I think it'll avoid you being inundated by a large number of people wanting the same thing, just repeating themselves over and over.
Councillor Hazelton.
I like number 3 and 4, and I would echo Councillor Bocek's comments about delegations. We, in fact, I think what may be appropriate is after reviewing the written submission, if there needs to be clarity, then we could reach out and request that they come at a future meeting to give us more detail or provide written clarity to questions. But I agree with really the two sentiments. One, we may get delegations where the material doesn't match the time provided, and isn't or isn't necessary for us to consider and approve or not approve.
All right. From what I'm hearing, there's no question that councillors would like to have their individual time with our new treasurer. I think that's a good thing. Also, that we certainly want to accept written submissions with regards to proposed budget items. Councillor Cooper, did you want to try to speak? I wasn't sure you were waving or just putting a thumbs up. Oh, it's still not working. Dang. Am I allowed to say that in council?
You can always use the chat button, and when you're chatting, we'll all be reading what you want to hear. Yeah, Councillor Cooper could make a written submission if he so chose. So at this point, the only other one is the public presentation or town hall style question and answer session. What is the appetite for that? CEO Gunby.
Thank you. I just want to support that decision, even though Julie may not be in favor of doing it, but I think it would be more beneficial than a survey to members of the public, because then they can actually have a hands-on experience. Because what I meant with, by the way, that they were entertaining before, is that most of the comments we were getting were from people who didn't have a full understanding of where our tax dollars went to. So the ideas we were getting were good ideas, but it would just result in us cutting a lot of money from services. So I support Julie's town hall by people who are really interested will make the effort to come, and they can actually see exactly where the money is going.
Yeah, I will add to, I've read an interesting book recently, and of course I can't remember the exact title because I don't see it right here, but I think it was called Happy Cities or something like that. And they reported on one chapter on the great success they've had in a number of communities around the world where they've opened up the budget process to some degree to the general public, and the input was invaluable. Not that it changed the budget hugely, but it left interested residents far more informed. So I actually think that might be an interesting idea to pursue. Councillor Hazelton.
So I would be in favor of a town hall like meeting if we could do it digitally. I think in today's world of COVID and everything else, that would likely be the only path forward. I can't imagine how we could do it meaningfully in person.
Well, I think with this resolution, we say public presentation, town hall style, we'd have to leave it up to our treasurer to organize and structure it. And who knows, she might actually do a bit of both. Okay, so what I have right now is, be it resolved that the council received the 2021 budget guidelines, process, and timeline report, and the following options in the timeline are chosen. And that would be number 3, Director of Financial Services meeting with individual council members. Number 4, written submissions from groups, organizations who wish to propose budget items to council. And number 14, public presentation, town hall style with Q&A. All those in favor?
No. What happened to number 5? So, not having delegations?
At this point, I had the impression people figured delegations would only would be if there was too many questions subsequent to the written submission.
Well, we've always had delegations in the.
Well, just because we've always had it doesn't mean we'll always need to. Councilor Douglas.
Can we leave it open that if we have a particular group that wishes to do a delegation, that they still can do that?
Why not? So do you want me to tick that box as well? Councilor Bocek.
Yes, I'd like you to tick that box, because a lot of times when we get a group or organization coming in asking for funding in a delegation, we have the ability to negotiate how much. If they're coming in asking for $50,000 and we want to eliminate some of it and get it down to $10,000 and approve it at that point in time, we have the ability to do it in a council's resolution. So I think it's been invaluable to have these organizations come in, pitch themselves to us, and council make a decision.
Okay, that box is now ticked.
Whether it's something we want to bring forward in the budget.
So we're ticking every box except the council survey box. All those in favor? All right, that is carried. Okay, our next report is regards to, from Financial Services, modernization funding. Ms. Boutiette, that's for you as well? You want to spend
Yes.
some more of our money?
Sure, but this one's not our money. It's actually.
Oh, that's better.
That's even better. This is an MMH initiative. So last year in 2019, you guys were all aware that we got one-time unconditional funding for modernization in the sum of over 600,000. We did put that in reserve, and this is what's funding most of our upgrades this year of IT. In conjunction with that, at the end of the year last year, there was a very fast funding announcement for modernization funding, but it was application based. And I have looked through records and I couldn't find a report that came to council advising you that we did apply for this funding. We did an application for online services delivery review. So what that means is we want to analyze what services are able to be transitioned to online, like, for example, parking tickets, bylaw tickets, buying animal tags, and anything else of the sort, maybe even to the extent of building permit applications that are submitted online. Our online services at the moment are very few. So the point of this consultant, and the MMH was very clear that it had to be awarded to a consultant. It couldn't be done internally. So this is just a review of the potential for online services and which ones would be like low-hanging fruits that we could grasp along quickly. So since my arrival at the township, we RFP'd for this work to be done. And we've received submissions, and today we are rubber stamping this. And the point of this not being in consent like they usually are is the fact that we hadn't talked about this modernization before and hadn't opened the floor to council for questions. So this is twofold: one, to let you know that we were successful in our application, and two, to award the RFP to the successful consultant.
I think it's excellent. Does any counselor want to add any additional comments? All those in favor? Or should I read the motion first? Probably I should do that formality. Moved by Councillor Cooper, seconded by Councillor Jarvis. Be it resolved that Council receives the Modernization Funding RFP results report, and that Council acknowledges that staff will award to Perry Consulting Group a contract to perform an electronic service delivery review at a total cost of $29,000, not including HST, and the Council acknowledges that 100% of the funds for this project have been awarded by the province of Ontario. All those in favor? And that is carried. All right. Next
You're
on our agenda is for tomorrow morning.
Never
Sorry?
mind. I was
You were
just
going to tell me
gonna
that. I can read that. We have some new business we could discuss. We also have a closed session item, but my understanding from the closed session item is it's simply the approval of 2 sets of minutes from our 2 closed sessions. And I've been advised that we can actually do that in open session if no one has any discussion, but just are simply willing to approve the minutes. So my question to my fellow councilors is, does anybody want to discuss those minutes? Councilor Wienko.
You're muted, Councilor.
I don't want to discuss them. I just want to be assured that there was some actions involved in those minutes. And if those actions were completed to what they say, then I will approve the minutes now. But if there's changes to those actions, then we should go into closed session. So basically, I'm looking for confirmation that the actions in those closed minutes were completed to the satisfaction of the CAO.
Yes.
All right.
Then I can prove it.
Now, I don't know if do I have those motions here?
Yes, you do, or I can read them if you can't find them.
Well, the only question is where did I put them?
The end,
Well,
probably.
skip that because there's no closed set. Okay. So moved by Councillor Douglas, seconded by Councillor Hazelton. Be it resolved that Council adopts the June 9, 2020 closed session council meetings as circulated. All those in favor? And that is carried. Followed by, be it resolved that Council adopts the June 12, 2020 closed session special council minutes as circulated. All those in favor? And those are carried. Now that saves us all getting up from our chairs and pretending we're walking into the room next door. So that's quite convenient. Okay. So now, at this point, all that we have left is, well, we have a bylaw to appoint, whatever the heck that was.
Bylaw officer.
Bylaw officer. I don't think, was there a report to that? I'm trying to, a one page.
It's a student bylaw position.
Okay, so, of course,
It's 10A in the corner.
okay, well, what? 10A, okay. This is for a bylaw officer that reads, moved by Councillor Wienko, seconded by Councillor Bocek. Be it resolved that Council adopts bylaw 2020-052, being a bylaw to appoint municipal law enforcement officer for the township of Georgian Bay, Chantal Saint Jean. All those in favor? And that is carried. All right. Clerk Way, are you being able to see the votes at this point?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so we've done that. We've done that. So what we have left for tomorrow is the audit report and new business, unless anybody wants to do new business now, but I'm going to suggest, as it's 3:45, that we save the new business items for tomorrow morning. Is there any opinion otherwise? Okay, so somewhere in here, I have be Be it resolved, moved by Councillor Douglas, seconded by Councillor
You have a
Hazelton.
waving hand.
Oh, so Councillor Bocek.
I'm all in favor of moving the new business tomorrow to tomorrow's agenda, as long as we have senior staff available tomorrow, namely Brad Sokach for my issue.
We have both days booked just for this.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Then moved by Councillor Douglas, seconded by Councillor Hazelton. Be it resolved that council does now recess at 3:42 p.m. to reconvene at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, July 14th. All those in favor? Okay, and that's passed unanimously, which means we are done for today. And tomorrow morning's meeting will be the audit report and the new business. And I think that's all that we have left. So hopefully we'll be able to get it done by lunchtime. Yeah, I can always hope. All right. Well, thank you very much. I think it's been a good full day of discussion, and I appreciate everybody taking the time to support all of us in this. Thank you.